Hello, how are you? Welcome to our 21st class. So today we are going to talk about some requests. So do you guys know what requests are? A request is when you ask something for yourself, for example, or when you ask someone to do something, okay? So this would be a request when you ask for something or when you ask someone to do something for you, okay? So the thing that we're going to study today is that there are many ways, of course, of asking for something, okay? There are many ways of posing a request. But I'm going to show you two important ways of doing this, okay? So let's begin by a text, and after that we see exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So let's read it together, okay? So this is a text about neighborhood, about living in a neighborhood. When you live with other people, there are usually some problems people face, right? It's sometimes difficult to live in a community, okay? So let's read it together. Neighborhood. Living in an apartment building can be tough. Sharing common areas and putting up with people's habits are even harder when some do not respect community rules. Here is a list of issues neighbors complain about. So, number one, we have neighbors use my parking space. Neighbors are loud even late at night. Neighbors do not respect the areas reserved for garbage storage. Neighbors do not control their children, okay? So this is a text that talks about neighborhood, okay? Neighbor is a person, usually, or a family, that lives next to you, usually on the house right beside yours, on the apartment next to yours, okay? So this we call neighbors, right? People who live together, okay? Now, let's see some vocabulary in the that I presented on this text. Let's see it together, okay? Now, match each expression or word with its definition or synonym. So here is a vocabulary check, okay? Let's build some vocabulary together, okay? In the text, we have the word tough. Remember? Let's take a look, okay? So, in the first sentence, I said, living in an apartment building can be tough. What is this tough? Let's see it here. So, tough is a synonym for problem, is a way of expressing resentment, to tolerate, place to store the trash, difficult or noisy. Okay, tough can be in this case a synonym for difficult, okay, difficult. Okay, there are other meanings for tough, but in the text here, in this occasion right here, we can say that it could be a synonym for difficult. Let's see. Now let's read again the first sentence together, okay? So, living in an apartment building can be tough, can be difficult. Of course, that's the idea, okay? Living in an apartment building can be tough. Correct. So, tough means difficult. The next one we have here is put up with. Put up with is an expression that has the same meaning as tolerate, okay? Tolerate. Put up with is the same as tolerate. Let's check the text. Come with me here. Now, sharing common areas and putting up with people's habits and tolerating people's habits, okay? So these are more difficult, these are even harder when some do not respect community rules, okay? So when a neighbor does not respect the others, right, does not respect the common spaces, so it's a real problem, okay? Sometimes we have big arguments between neighbors, right? So let's check here. We have, so tough is the same as difficult, put up with is the same as tolerate. Now, issue, this is very simple, right? An issue is in this case the same as a problem, okay? An issue is a problem. To complain, also very simple, a verb, right? To complain is to express resentment, right? Usually we say complain when we say that something displeases us, when something is not nice for us, then we complain. For example, when someone does something we don't like, we complain. come on, stop doing that, this is boring, this is annoying, okay? So this is to complain, okay? To say that something annoys you, okay? Now loud. Loud, also a simple word, right? Usually we use loud to talk about sounds, okay? So when the volume is very loud, it's difficult to talk, right? So this is loud. In the text here, it could be a synonym for noisy, okay? So I said, remember, neighbors are loud late at night, okay? So they are loud late at night. They are noisy, okay? And finally, we have the garbage storage. The garbage storage is that place in the building where you can store the trash. That means, do you know, that place usually there's a big trash can, for example, or a bin where you can throw your trash, and afterwards the truck comes and collects it, okay? So that's what we call a garbage storage. So let's go back to the text and let's see again all these words, okay? So living in an apartment building can be difficult, right? Can be tough, can be difficult. Sharing common areas and putting up with people's habits and tolerating people's habits are even harder when some do not respect community rules. Here is a list of issues or a list of problems neighbors complain about, okay? Neighbors talk about these problems, okay? So, what are the problems, the issues neighbors usually complain about? So they say, neighbors use my parking space, okay? That's a big problem, right? You want to park your car and someone else is using your space, okay? Neighbors are loud, neighbors are noisy, even late at night. So maybe you want to sleep because the next day you have to get up early and your neighbors are loud, okay? They are noisy. Neighbors do not respect the areas reserved for garbage storage, so they leave their trash in places that are not destined to keep the trash. They leave their trash, for example, in the hall or in common areas, okay? So this is a big problem. They do not respect the garbage storage, okay? So the place where you should leave your garbage. Now, neighbors do not control their children, so they allow children to scream, to be noisy, to disrupt the peace sometimes, right? So these are some common complaints neighbors have. Okay, so what I want to talk to you today is how to make a request. So usually when you have a problem, for example, with a neighbor, it is normal to request, to ask this person to behave differently or to do something for you, right? To change their behavior, okay? So, one very simple way, very used way to pose a request is using a modal verb. Remember, usually 3 modal verbs are very used. Can, could, and would. These 3 modal verbs are very used when we want to ask someone to do something, okay? Okay, and after a modal verb, we know we always use the simple form of the verb. Let's see some examples together. For example here, can you turn the music down? Okay, so I use the modal can, and of course I use the verb to turn in the simple form, right? Turn. Can you turn? Can you turn the music down? Can you turn the music down, please? So this is a request. You are asking someone, in this case here could be a neighbor, right? You are asking him to do something for you, right? To change their behavior. So, can you turn the music down? Now, another one. Could you take your garbage out? Could you take your garbage out? Again, I used the modal, the could, and the main verb, the verb take here, is in its simple form, okay? Could you take your garbage out? So, of course, don't leave your garbage in the hall, for example. Okay, please take it out. Okay, and one more. Would you move your car from my parking space? Okay, so this is directly related to that issue neighbors usually complain about, right? So when a neighbor uses your parking space, you could ask him, please, would you move your car from my parking space? Okay, would you move it from my parking space? I mean, to a different space, do not use my parking space, right? That's exactly what it means, but this is a politer way to ask for something, okay? Usually we use a modal. And there's another way we can do exactly these same requests, we can pose them using an expression that is very common in English. The expression, would you mind? Would you mind would be very similar to, is it not a problem for you to do something? Is it not going to disturb you if you did something for me? Okay? I don't know if you can understand, but that's the idea. The idea is exactly the same as can, could, or would, but this is even politer, okay? It is a very indirect way to ask something. So this is common when you don't want to be rude to people, okay? So would you mind? This is very important. After would you mind, we do not use the simple form of the verb turn, take, or move, okay? Turn, take, and move here are verbs in its simple form. But after would you mind, we have to use gerunds, okay? Remember what's a gerund? A gerund is a verb ending in ing. Let's see some examples. Okay, now, would you mind turning the music down? So it's the same request I posed here in the first, right? Can you turn the music down? Would you mind turning the music down? Okay? So after would you mind, I use a verb with ing, a verb in the gerund, okay? Would you mind turning the music down? Or would you mind taking your garbage out? The same, right? Can you take? Would you mind taking? Or would you mind moving your car from my parking space? So would you mind moving your car from my parking space? It's the same, exactly the same as would you move your car from my parking space? But we could say it is even politer, right? It is an even more educated form to ask for something, okay? So very simple, right? Modals we use with the simple form of the verb, and would you mind we have to use a gerund, okay? A verb ending in ing. Very simple. Let's practice then. Okay, now please, I want you guys to fill in the blanks here with the correct form of the verb in parentheses, okay? So, can you please, I want to use the verb land, to land. Do you remember what land means? It's when, for example, you give something for someone, but it's for a period of time. After this period of time, the person has to give it back to you. Okay, you are not giving, you are lending. Okay, that's the idea of lending. It's very common to use that for money, right? Because to lend money is this: I give you some money today, and I don't know, in 1 year, in 1 month, you have to pay me back. Okay, so this is to lend, the verb to lend. Okay, now here I am using a modal. Can you? So can you please lend me some money? Very simple, right? We used modals with the simple form of the verb. But now in the second here, I am using would you mind. So after would you mind, we have to use a gerund, right? So would you mind lending me some money? Would you mind lending me some money? Okay, the same. They have the same meaning, okay? Now one more. Could you please... now the verb is the verb to bring, right? So could you please bring? Could you please bring me a glass of water, right? Because I am using a modal. Could you bring? Could you please bring, right? After modals, simple form of the verb. Now in the second, would you mind, I have to use a gerund, right? So would you mind bringing me a glass of water? Would you mind bringing me a glass of water? Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, very simple. We just have to pay attention on the usage of the verb. Okay, the conjugation of the verb. Very simple. Okay. Now, how can we respond? How can we answer a request? Usually, we use will, right? To say that we will do something. Remember, we use will every time we talk about something which is in the future, but it's not planned. It's something I am deciding right now, okay? So you, for example, someone posed me a complaint. Someone asked me to do something. Of course, I am going to decide to do that thing at the same time the person is asking me, okay? It's not something I had planned before. So, of course, I am going to use will, okay? Example, if you receive the request, can you turn the music down? You could answer, sure, I'll do it right away. I will do it right away. Right away means right now, immediately, okay? So, can you turn the music down? Sure, I will do it right away. Okay? Also, we can apologize. Usually when someone poses a request for us, it's usually because we did something that bothered the other person, right? That annoyed the other person. So it's common to apologize and or to give an excuse, okay? It's not necessary, but it's possible. It's something very usual. Okay, someone poses a request, you can apologize for not doing it before or apologize for something you did that annoyed that person, okay? Let's see some examples. For example, would you mind taking your garbage out? Would you mind taking your garbage out? So if someone asks you that, it's because you didn't take your garbage out, right? So it's a possibility to apologize before saying that you will take your garbage out. So, for example, you can say, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was disturbing you. I didn't realize, okay, I didn't perceive, okay, so realize is something that you comprehend, you understand. So I didn't realize, I didn't perceive that it was disturbing you. Or, please forgive me, I forgot I left it there. In this case here, the person is giving an excuse, right? Oh, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I forgot I left the garbage, right? The trash there. I forgot I left it there, right? So there, of course, is not in the correct place, not in the garbage storage, okay? So that these are ways we can use to respond to a request. So let's practice this a little. Now, let's match each request with the correct response. Okay, so let's do it together. The first request here. Can you watch my son for a few minutes? Can you watch my son for a few minutes? Okay, let's see the responses. No problem. I didn't realize it was after 10 p.m. No, doesn't make any sense, right? Can you watch my son? I didn't realize it was after 10 p.m. No, doesn't make any sense. Sorry, I'm pretty busy right now. This is possible, right? Let's see if there's anyone else which would be possible. So, could you watch my son for a few minutes? Of course not. I'm really ashamed I left it open. No, okay? Doesn't have any relation, okay? Soon we are going to discuss the meaning of ashamed, okay? In a few minutes. Or, sure, I'll put them away. Also, doesn't make any sense, okay? So the correct, of course, is the second here. Can you watch my son for a few minutes? Sorry, I'm pretty busy right now, okay? So the person here is denying, is declining, okay? So someone asked this person to watch his or her son, and the person is saying no, okay? Sorry, I'm pretty busy right now, okay? So I cannot watch your son for a few minutes, okay? Number 2 here. Would you mind turning the volume down? Would you mind turning the volume down? So it's too loud, okay? So would you mind turning the volume down? Okay, so remember the 2-part verbs we saw in a few classes ago? Okay, so that's it, okay? Turn down, turning the volume down. So no problem. I didn't realize it was after 10 p.m. Very good, okay? This one matches perfectly. So, would you mind turning the volume down? No problem. I didn't realize it was late. I didn't realize it was after 10 p.m. Okay? So this person is saying he is going to turn the music down, and of course he is apologizing and giving an excuse. What is the excuse? The excuse is he didn't realize the hour. He didn't realize it was already late. Okay? Now, could you put your clothes away, please? Remember, put away? Put away is to put in the correct place. Remember, when a place is messy, for example, you can ask the person to put the things away, to put the things in the correct place. So, could you put your clothes away, please? Of course not. I'm really ashamed I left it open. No, not possible, okay? Could you put your clothes away? Sure, I'll put them away, of course. I'll put them away. Okay, and would you mind closing the toilet lid? You know what's the toilet lid? Usually guys, after they go to the toilet, right? So we usually leave the lid open, okay? So the lid is that part of the toilet that opens and closes, okay? So women hate when we leave the lid open, okay? So this one here, probably a woman, is asking, would you mind closing the toilet lid? Of course not, okay? So of course I don't mind, okay? So do you understand this? Would you mind? You can say, of course not. I mean, I don't mind. It's not a problem. He says he is going to close the lid, okay? So it's possible also to give the answer in the negative, okay? No problem, because would you mind means this. Is this a problem for you? Of course not. This is not a problem. I don't mind. It's no problem, okay? So, would you mind closing the toilet lid? Of course not. I'm really ashamed I left it open. So, I'm really ashamed. What does ashamed mean, okay? So, we have the meaning here. Ashamed means feeling shame or guilt, to be embarrassed, okay? When you do something that you are not proud of, so this makes you ashamed, okay? It's a feeling of shame, a feeling of guilt, okay? Also an embarrassment. Okay, so of course not. I'm really ashamed I left it open. Oh, I shouldn't have left it open, but I did, sorry, okay? That's the meaning of ashamed. Okay, guys, so that was it for today. So it's important because we started to see that sometimes we use a verb in the simple form, and sometimes we use gerunds, okay? Next class, I want to continue to talk to you guys about this, but we are going to see a difference between infinitives and gerunds, okay? It's sometimes difficult for us to understand this because the translation to the Portuguese is usually the same. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about this a little better next class, but it's common for us to have some problems to understand this because in Portuguese we always use infinitives in some occasions, but we are going to see that in English sometimes we have to use a gerund, okay? So this is something we are going to talk about next class. Hope to see you all there. Thank you very much for watching. So if you guys like the video, please give me some thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, okay? I'll be very happy, very glad if you stick with me for the next classes, okay? Thank you for watching. See you next class.